Only the dead have seen the end of war. Plato. The war was over. For 50 long years, the galaxy was lit ablaze as the United Interstellar Alliance and Ten-Star Republic clashed with the Sanhaeli Empire and the Tal Shaki Confederacy. A simple difference of opinion saw hundreds of billions of lives extinguished and entire worlds decimated in the wake of the darkest days in history. The galaxy was in rubble by the time Republic and Alliance colors flew over the Imperial and Confederate capitals. The denizens of the galaxy are exhausted as they attempt to pick up the scattered pieces of a fragile, normal life. A fool's errand. The near immeasurable volume of death and destruction has scarred the galactic population. Those who fought in the war struggle to readjust to civilian life and quickly turn to organized crime and religious fanaticism, turning their backs on everything they fought for in exchange for the familiar. Worse still, the defeat of the Empire and Confederacy opened a massive rift in the galactic balance of power that is frequently exploited by organized crime, PMCs, or anyone wishing to line their pockets. Combined with the overbearing and often violent resentment of Imperial and Confederate citizens, the occupying forces are twisted into becoming more and more hostile by the day. The reign of peace has wrought more tragedy than it has solved, as wartime grudges remain the rule of the day. As the news blabbers on about the degradation of the galaxy, the public grows restless as society spins its wheels to nowhere. Its denizens are uncertain and panicked by the apparent lack of progress the war has wrought. Regardless of their wishes, the power struggle that produced death on an unimaginable scale has only created a new power struggle that seemed poised to unravel and shatter what little remained of the galaxy. Chapter 1. Date and location unknown. His vision came to him in a blur, awoken by the regular blips of medical equipment. He shook his head and blinked his eyes, struggling to take note of his surroundings. As far as he could tell, the room was a bright, sterile white, apart from a gray and black chair that resided in the left corner. As all the switches in his conscious mind toggled, he realized that he needed a better grasp of his surroundings. He tried to sit up. Crippling pain shot up his right side as his posture straightened. It was insufferable as his grunts became audible across the floor. He lifted up his shirt and saw that there was nothing on his side, no wounds or scars. He was in pristine condition. He relaxed and felt the pain subside as he began to take stock of the room. As he did, he heard footsteps walk in. A purple-skinned woman walked into the room clad in green scrubs with a distinctive purple orb on her shoulders. He thought that profiling was rude, but only her racial identity sprang to his mind. Haltorian. She screamed into the hall in an alien tongue. She ran toward him and pulled a medical scanner out of her pocket. The nurse crisscrossed his body with a steady green laser, trying to reassure him in her bizarre language. He yearned to understand her when suddenly a loud beep sounded in his ear. He shook his head.
Can you understand me?
Everything was perfectly clear. Yes.
Good. At least your translation software wasn't damaged in the accident.
Accident?
Yes, you crash-landed 3 days ago with a critical gunshot wound and severe head trauma.
What? Where am I?
I need you to relax while I get these
Where am I?
Gresgelia, edge of the Kesnaja province, Ten-Star Republic, November 18th, 2585.
The nurse's scanner beeped as her eyes filled with fear. He released her and let her check the scanner. She looked back up in shock.
What are you?
At that exact moment, another dark-haired Paltorian woman in a white doctor's coat walked in, took the scanner out of the nurse's hand, and ordered her to leave. As she walked out of the room in panic, the doctor looked down at the scanner and refocused her attention to him with her eyes sharp as steel.
You mind explaining this to me? A bunch of crazy Shen Uskfe militants drag a human into my hospital like you're the God's-damned Messiah with your foot in the grave. No way to identify you other than that you are an anatomical human male. My surgeons are physically incapable of treating you. And now, I've got armed men from God's nowhere watching the place around the clock. Now you're alive and kicking like you've never been shot before.
He shook his head, trying to keep his mouth from dropping.
Just who or what in immortal chains are you?
He didn't know a thing about himself. I don't know. The doctor rolled her eyes.
You can't remember your name?
No.
I guess that's for the best. I don't know who you pissed off, but I've seen enough people gunned down in front of my hospital during the war. I don't want any trouble. There are clothes for you in the closet. Slip out the back, throw your gown in the dumpster, and get out of the cistern.
She got up and strode out the door as she switched back to her cold-hearted, no-nonsense tone.
You're free to go.
He got out of bed, still feeling like his ribs were about to split apart. He felt the pressure leave quickly, but he had another urgent pressure to deal with. He sprang out of bed and power-walked into the bathroom like any normal human being after they woke up. He went to the toilet but was immediately distracted by the mirror over the sink. His face was weathered and jagged, narrowly covered by a few days of unchecked dark stubble. His eyes were deep emerald in stark contrast to his high and tight dark brown hair. These were minor details as he turned in the mirror. He had a finger-length scar across his left cheek. Any urgency in his bladder was gone as he compulsively studied the scar, poking at it like he was about to do an autopsy. Fortunately, he didn't need one to figure out how he got it. Combat. Operation Trident, Sanhaeli Occupied Alliance Space 2570. First orbital drop. Slackjaw fuck caught me when I had to ditch my broken helmet. He closed his eyes and shook his head. He studied himself again. He's looking at himself with new eyes, very critically. Who are you? He finished what he was doing and quickly went ahead to change. He opened the closet and saw his garments. Cargo khakis with an olive drab t-shirt. He couldn't speculate much from the attire, but all he could guess was tropics. He dressed in seconds flat and noticed a card fall out of his left pocket. He examined its narrowly legible chicken scratch. 217 MH Alfonso Spros. The best he could tell, the inscription was an address, and probably the only place he could go to sort this all out. He wanted to get moving quickly, but his instincts told him to hesitate. A quick look at the corner mirror revealed the doctor being accosted by two men in black polo shirts and magnetic accelerator pistols on their thighs. He swore under his breath and looked toward the opposite end of the hall. He saw a door leading to a stairwell. He took a breath and walked into the hall toward the stairwell. He moved at a casual pace, the best way he could think to minimize the attention he'd attract.
Freeze!
He heard boots pivot and guns click out of holsters as he was barely 2 meters from the door. Reality began to fade as he ran for the door. He felt like he was having deja vu. He only heard the doctor scream as his head took its leave.
Run!
His strides were clumsy. His sides screamed in agony as he struggled to catch his breath. His crimson-drenched left hand clutched his chest as he darted down the corridor. It was a through-and-through, 10 centimeters to the right of his sternum. The last place anyone in their right mind wanted that kind of wound. Pressure on an exit wound wasn't doing much, as he drifted between delirious and killing over. Passing out would have been nice. However, his adrenal glands barked and nagged at him to run down the blurring corridor. Alarms squealed to concussive levels of nuisance as lights strobed to complement the color of his left hand. He heard voices, soldiers screaming behind him in a multitude of languages that neither his auto-translator nor his own cognitive abilities could keep up with. He didn't need any of them to tell him that the voices were screaming, "Shoot this fucker!" He dove right into a door as small arms wide flooded the corridor. He screamed in agony, blood evacuated his lungs orally. The bullets stopped as he commanded his foot to kick up. The subsequent mighty blow crushed the scanner that operated the door and sealed it shut. They'd needed an acetylene torch and hours to crack the electromagnetic lock. He coughed up more blood as he narrowly scanned for anything useful. His desperate scan revealed that by some miracle, he'd stumbled into an escape pod. He reached for the nearest crash sheet and narrowly pulled himself up. Agony took over as he collapsed into the uncomfortable felt-lined chair. The change in position did nothing but feel cold and damp as he coughed up more blood. He struggled for breath as he reached up for the launch lever. His fingers weakly grasped the lever as his unconscious weight threw it forward. A bullet whizzed past his ear and brought him back in the moment. He made it to the door in seconds flat. The door unsealed in a flash and resealed the second he crossed into the stairwell. He looked down and noticed he had about 9 floors to descend to make street level. There was a lot of ground to cover and a route that became less and less appealing as he heard at least 3 more black shirts bounding up from below him. With 2 more goons directly behind him, he swore under his breath and ran up the stairs as fast as he could. He made it to the top of the 4 remaining flights of stairs fast. Too fast. The assailants behind him had only just managed to get in the stairwell. He looked down in disbelief at the distance he covered, only to see one of the men draw his pistol and fire up with the cough of a suppressor. The bullets pinged off of the railing as he retreated backward. The door wouldn't unseal by motion. It was controlled by fingerprint scan, something his prints definitely wouldn't open. With threats closing in, he kicked at the door with all of his might out of desperation. The titanium steel alloy door flew out of the frame and flew for meters across the hospital roof. He ran out to notice the city skyline. High steel and glass narrowly holding back white, teal, and crimson trees that stood kilometers tall, contrasted by a deep, dark blue ocean. The extraterrestrial tropical view was something he wanted more time to absorb, but the assassins were right on his 6. He was running out of time. There was only one way off of this roof. He heard the agents stack on the door behind him. They were going to overwhelm him. He looked straight ahead. Oh, shit. The agents rounded the corner. He bolted toward the edge at 161 kilometers an hour and jumped. At that speed and trajectory, all the bullets in the galaxy couldn't have hit him. He had propelled himself off of a 13-story building at near-terminal velocity. He flew 3 blocks before he landed and subsequently rolled into a car with enough force to crumple the frame. The alarm blared as every set of civilian eyes on the street focused their attention on him. He got up and dusted himself off as he tried to walk away as quickly and casually as he could. He barely felt a thing as he tried to lose the gun-wielding thugs in a bewildered crowd. All of this led him to an all-too-obvious question. What the hell is going on?